Well, hello there and welcome to another tutorial, and this is about putting yourself into a car or of any vehicle, a helicopter or whatever. I'd like to say I got loads of requests for this, but actually I only got two that were sort of interested in seeing how it was done. Okay, so I've already got the model put in there. This is a model I had and made up before. This is a Camaro. You can get it free online, and I've done it up as a sort of a police car. This is the sort of thing I used in one of my videos. I can't remember which one it was, but alright, now the first thing you want to do is to find the model that you want, and then if you have Cinema 4D, is put it into Cinema 4D and separate all the things that you want separated, and do everything to the model you want to do in there, and before you bring it into Cinema 4D and texture it, because once you've textured in Cinema 4D, which takes quite some time, if you change anything at all in the model in Cinema 4D, and let's say you want to separate something later, all the textures and everything else will not match up now. They will all be changed and you have to redo it all again. So make sure you get it right first. And as for sometimes you can actually import it into Cinema 4D and it still has the textures. A lot of times that doesn't work for me. In fact, more at times it doesn't. So I would suggest saying I don't even bother trying it that way. I always texture it and everything in Cinema 4D. Okay, so let's assume that you've got your vehicle, right? Now what I've done here is, if you take a look, I've removed the glass here on this model. Now luckily on this model I could just remove it in Cinema 4D quite easily. As you can see, the glass on the other side looks like it's not there too, but that's because it hasn't got any thickness to it, and I'm not going to go through that at the moment anyway. It's just basically, let's just try and put me in this vehicle here, or make it look like I'm in the vehicle. Now the first thing you want to decide is first you want to decide what angle you're going to have your vehicle at. This is sideways on, obviously. So you take a picture of you or a film of you in front of green screen, sitting down, sideways on, and it should fit not too bad. Now, but let's say if we go down to the body here and say twist it, no, let's twist it around like that. Say you want it to have it that way, right? So now you'd have to sit at that sort of angle towards the camera to make it look like you're actually in the car. Well, sort of in the car anyway. So yeah, you've got to be careful of the angle. So what you want to try and do is do some test filming and sort of sit a certain angle and mark the angle if you can with something on the floor or whatever, so you can tell what way you're sitting, and then put it onto the PC, into After Effects, and key light it, take the green out, and make sure you look about right, because it doesn't take much to make it look wrong. So but make sure you mark where you're sitting, because if you mark where you're sitting, on what angle you're sitting at, some way, putting something on the floor or whatever, then you can get up and get back to sit back down and it should be the same. So that's one of the hardest parts there. So anyway, let's move this back to where it was, which is roughly there. And now I've got some video I had, some earlier stuff. There is one thing I did try, and I think is it this one? No, it's this one. Right, now I did try and sort of have my arm out the window. So what I did was I used the mic stand there and put some green cloth over it, and as if my arm was out the window, which would make it look a little bit more realistic. But that is a very hard thing to do, and a lot of keying with a mask, and it sometimes doesn't look very good. So yeah, so let's not do that one, but that's just an idea for you people if you want to try something like that. So let's get that one. Let's get this one, which is what a good looking man, which is the normal one. So let's get on with that. So let's click onto that. Let's click onto our mask tool here, and then just sort of mask me round, sort of cut me out. Try and avoid that there, of course. Right, and then go to Effect, go down to Keying and Key Light, and then over here on there click on the, I'm sure you people know how to do this, so I won't spend a great deal of time getting it. I always go on to Screen Matte. That gives me anything white stays, anything black goes. So then you go down to Screen Matte here, and on the clip white, I always do the white first. I drag that back until I look like I'm pretty well solid white, and then move the black here until it's about right. I don't have to worry about that there because that won't be in the picture. So something about 40, 39, 30 to 40 usually is pretty good. Okay, so then I'll go back up to here now and go Final Result, and there we have me there, which here looks a bit odd there, but never mind. This is just a test. And I always, by the way, use Key Correct and go on to Matte Feather Easy, and what that does, it smooths the edges out a little bit, which makes it look a bit better. And now I'm going to try something else, not try something else, I'm going to do so, is Effect and go Color Correct and go on to Color Matcher, and I'm going to find the background, which is this one here, and put it on. And that doesn't look too good, but yeah, but sometimes it works pretty good. So we'll just leave it at 7% at the moment. Right, now I'm going to make it my layer 3D, and that's because it gives me a bit more sort of leeway. Now you notice that I went sort of darker there. Now in all my videos that I put out or whatever, I always make sure I've got a camera. I'll give myself a camera. Now my camera is, I've got 50mm there or whatever, so I always put a camera in, and I always put a light in, which is a parallel light, and I've got it set for 85 at the moment, and I've set it up over here, and I change it round. And as for the model in Element 3D 3D, yeah, is I always use ambient occlusion and shadows, and then I do the lights and see what I can come up with to make the car look reasonably whatever. So anyways, now I've got myself 3D, so now I can actually push myself back towards the car, right, and then sort of move myself down a bit, and looks to me like I should be tilted at a little bit here on this. So if we go down to transform and tilt myself a little bit there, I'm going to make myself probably a little bit, see if I can go a little bit smaller, like so, and then come down like this, maybe like this. Bring my head back up. Now I'm trying to get to the back of the seat, and I look still rather big there. You don't want to be too small, but that's the thing. So let's assume something like that, but that doesn't look great. But anyway, the way to do it is this. The mask that you've got that you actually did there, you might want to put some more sort of points on it. So if you go to your mask tool, click on that and click like this, you will get yourself some more places to be able to move it. So there we go. Right, now that shouldn't be too bad. Make sure you click off of it like up there, because otherwise you end up putting loads of more masks on. And basically all you do is just sort of come in and make sure you're on full, by the way, on this. Make sure it's on full quality so you can see exactly what you're doing. So we're going to come down and we're going to do this like so. Looks like I could be a lot bigger, really. You basically just take out what would be in front of you. In other words, the car. The car pieces would be in front of you like so. You just move everything up, sort of cut yourself off, and you get closer and move it up so like this, so that you've got a little bit now there you sort of got something like that. Now it doesn't look quite right to me yet. It looks like, so you've got to play around with it a bit. I think it should probably come more forward. If I go down, will it look better? This wasn't made for this car when I filmed this myself here, so it was made for another vehicle, so that's why it probably doesn't look exactly great. But like I say, this is just a rough way of showing you how you can do it. Getting yourself filmed correctly is mostly the right thing to do there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put effect on me. I'm going to put a mojo on, right? And the mojo is quite good. You can adjust the bit more color perhaps, maybe not so much like that. And that doesn't look perfect. And by the way, I'm having a coffee as well, of course. That doesn't look actually perfect or anything. And you also might want to do on your mask is open it up and say put, I don't know, one feather on there, just to make it so the line between the two aren't so sharp. But if you take a look, it looks to me like I'm probably a bit small, but never mind. This is like I say, just to show you how you can do it. Filming yourself and getting that right is probably one of the main things on this. Now let's for instance say you're happy with it, which I'm not, but let's say you are. And you want to be able to move the car, right? And you want to stay with it. You can keyframe yourself with it, which takes a long time. If you're going to just be moving left or right or up and down a bit, you can pre-compose it. Now I don't pre-compose it too much myself because I find pre-compose, it gets very complicated. But for this instance, we will do. So let's get rid of this one here. And to pre-compose it, you want to pre-compose the car and yourself. So if you click on yourself, and I'm going to pre-compose the main body and the car, not the background or anything like that. So now if you right click and say pre-compose, and you can name it if you wish, I'm not going to bother, but you move all attributes and all that or whatever and go like that. Now you notice that something changed there when I pre-composed. It lost a few things, and basically what it lost is the camera and the light. So if you click on them and copy them, and then double click on your pre-composed layer you just made, and then go edit and paste. So now it's gone back in. Basically when you pre-compose, it doesn't take the camera in. You have to put the camera in afterwards to make it look right, and the light as well. So now we've done that. If we go here, we can turn these ones off, right? So now this is a pre-composed layer. Now when you pre-compose a layer, you want to be able to see the whole car when you pre-compose, because now you can move the car if you... I'm going to make the pre-composed layer 3D as well, because it makes it a little bit easier to maneuver. But if I move the car, now I can move the car, see, and I'm staying with the car. Right, wherever I go, I stay with the car, which is good. Now the pre-composed layer is limited how you can move it, but for this instance, I think it'll be fine. So let's put the car, say, I don't know, here would be good. So let's open up the pre-composed layer, as in that position, and go, I don't know, maybe along to there, and move out like that. And let's get this, slow that down a bit so we can see. I think that's going to be too slow, but let's take a look and see. Okay, so there it is there, right? Obviously, it's all right if I was, obviously it was a pedal car, because that's pretty goddamn slow. So let's move it up a bit and re-render it again and see what we got here. Try and make it as fast as, pretty fast. Right, obviously I don't want to be going off that quick, so we talk a bit and then we go off. So let's move it up a bit there, talk a bit. Now if I go into the pre-composed layer, and as you can see I'm doing some weird things, so let's move that so that we don't have me bending down like that. So I'm talking, hopefully talking away there, right? So there we go, and then we go away. So as you can see, you get the idea, right? Now obviously you put motion blur on the car and everything, right? So let's just see what we got going here. Let's move it a bit closer together here, and put it like, say, that far out, make it 15 seconds or so. And now I'm going to render it, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so here we have it now, sort of rendered out a little bit, and I'm talking a little bit, obviously, and then I should pull away, and I think the speed is still pretty slow. So we're gonna do it, keep it like that, and move it slower. So it is slower than that, quite a bit slower. Right, and see what we got here. So let's render that. Talking a bit here. Let's see if we pull away. We should be all right. And he's getting ready, and off he goes. That's not too bad. So let's put. I'm going to go into here and put on this layer the blur, and on me the blur. There we go. Now we're going to render this again, see what comes up. Okay, so here it is with the blur on the pre-composed layer here. I've got the blur on there, if you can see, motion blur, and it shouldn't look too bad. He's going to pull away now. There he goes. So it's not too bad. Probably could be a bit faster on the pull away, but that's personal taste, of course. So yeah, now you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, it's fine, except, let's take a look here. And also what I normally do with your self layer, in other words you layer, once you get all the coloring on there that you want and everything, which I don't think that color should be right there, no. I could probably put some punch it on it too, a bit more punch it, but I also put a drop shadow. So D-R-O-P, I put in shadow, a drop shadow. Right, drop shadow over here. Type in drop S, and that should give me drop shadow. Not, I've got hip film as well. I've also got BCC, but perspective drop shadow is what I put on to myself, right? And it'll come up, and over on the left here, as you can see, I always make the strength, the opacity basically, about 19 to 20 or something. The distance I make 2, and softness I take it right up, right? And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, there's nothing there. It doesn't show up, but it does. There is something there. If you notice, you can see some difference there. A slight difference. It just gives you a bit more 3D-ish looking sort of thing. So yeah, so there we have it, and we're going off. Right, so you're probably saying to yourself, well, yeah, very good, except the wheels aren't turning. Well, yeah, but that really wasn't the tutorial. The tutorial was to show you how to put yourself into a vehicle. So to make the wheels turn, what you have to do, like I say, at the beginning, before you do anything else, is put the model into Cinema 4D and separate the wheels. Now, when I say separate the wheels, what I mean is separate what would turn. In other words, on this, the wheel, the tire, the hub, that disc there should turn as well. The caliper shouldn't turn, obviously. So what you need to do is to go into Cinema 4D and sort of separate the tires. In other words, because we're not going to be turning anywhere, we just need to separate the front tires, and we need to separate the back tires, right? So I'll see if I've got enough time to actually quickly go through that